Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this week's episode of the Working in Hockey podcast. I'm your host, Nick Bowens, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Patrice Whiffen, who is definitely a master and expert in the marketing and events space. Patrice, there's so much that we can dive into here today. How are you, first of all?
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful intro. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm great. I'm feeling pumped to be chatting with you guys and hopefully sharing some wisdom. I think what you're doing for students and young professionals is a great tool for them. So that's great.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I'd love to dive into some of your current roles, some of your past roles. There's a lot of different cool ventures on your LinkedIn profile that we can touch on here. But first, I want to talk to people a little bit about Primetime Sports and Entertainment, a conference. You guys have seen me tease it on socials. We're doing some collaborations here together. May or may not have a cool giveaway coming up for you guys as well. But Patrice, I know that you've been involved with Primetime as long as it's been around. Tell me a little bit about Prime Time, what it's all about, and what people can expect at this year's event.
Absolutely. So we are entering our 17th year of the Primetime Sport Management Conference and Trade Show, proudly presented by our friends at MLSE. This event is our 17th year, and as you mentioned, I've been there since the beginning. I was an intern in the very first year and have kind of grown my role each year. And it's one of those things that you mark in the calendar as soon as our dates are announced, and it's one thing that we always look forward to. And it's kind of like the unofficial family reunion of the sporting community in Canada. It's one of those things that, and it's not just for Canadians. Lots of Americans and people abroad come as well. But it's based in Canada. It's always been based in Toronto. It's at the Westin Harbour Castle Hotel. This year it is November 10th to 12th, which is a Sunday through Tuesday. So this event has grown exponentially since I began working with this organization. We have a great team led by our fearless leaders, Brian Burke and Trevor Whiffen. And this event was really formed with the purpose of providing opportunities for Canadians, especially, to have something that's local to them, to learn from and network with the leaders in the sports business. 17 years ago, that definitely did not exist. Nowadays, there's more opportunities, but this is the largest sport management conference and trade show in Canada. I think it's the second largest in North America, and so we have a lot of fun allowing our community to kind of come together and collaborate, debate hot topics, giving them a platform to do that, but then also share best practices. It's great for, everyone within the sporting community, whether you are a student or a high level executive, because there's always either someone you can connect with or something that you can learn or something that you can pass along to the next generation by being at this event. And so it really is a who's who over the years. We usually have about 75 speakers each year over the course of the 3 days. Sunday, November 10th is our kickoff. So we have a welcome reception that day. Earlier in the day, we also feature a business case competition for those students that would like to participate in that. And then, the welcome reception is a kickoff this year presented by Tixer. And then on Monday and Tuesday, we have a full stacked schedule of panels and interviews, and it covers really the full gamut of everything within the sports industry, from marketing to partnerships to ticketing to, I want to be an agent. How do I negotiate contracts? So there's so many different things that really cater to those on the business side, but also those that want to be on the team side as well. And those on the team side, again, to share those best practices and things that, they've either learned from and gotten better at, or things that worked really well. So definitely a great event, something that is inclusive to everyone. And we normally have about 550 people in attendance. And so it's a great time.
Perfect. No, that was a perfect overview. And I think the one thing that I'll piggyback off there that you said is how inclusive it is. Guys, Prime Time and Working in Hockey wouldn't be collaborating and partnering if I didn't truly believe in the event, the conference. And I think the 17 years is a testament to that. But so many times in other industries, I'll say, Patrice, like, you go to these events and the people on the panels or the people being interviewed on stage, like they're almost behind this invisible wall where there's no interaction with them. You're never going to be able to talk to them. Everybody's kind of sitting in the back row like, oh, wish I could talk to those people, but it's so separated and secluded and different things like that. And I really like that about Primetime. Everything's so inclusive. Like you said, there's people that are in their first year of college or university there, and there's people that have been in the industry for 20 years that are still looking for that next role or just looking to hear what's new in the industry. I think that's what's awesome about an event like Prime Time. So, guys, be sure to watch for some more news, potentially a giveaway, and some excitement as we get closer to that. Patrice, I wanted to dive a little bit into advice when it comes to networking and conferences and things like that. You've been there for 17 years. You've seen the people like yourself who are up there making introductions and getting to know people. And you've seen the people like probably a younger me who sat in the back corner and went, "Oh, why isn't Brian Burke coming to talk to me? That's weird." What advice would you have for people going to their first sports conference or going to primetime for their first time?
That's a great question. And I feel as though, I mean, I'm an extrovert. I love talking to people. However, you don't have to be an extrovert to make connections with people. Even just speaking to whoever's sitting next to you is, that's a start. That's putting yourself out there a little bit in a less scary format. But in terms of preparing for something like that, I think there's a couple of things that I suggest. So first is be there. Provide yourself the opportunity to thank thank yourself down the road for making that first step. Be in the room, put yourself in that environment. There are different pieces of the event that are more catered to networking. Again, the welcome reception is a great opportunity. That's a separate ticketed event, but included for free with any event registration. And that's something that, again, come to it. At least put yourself in the room, even if you talk to one person or two people, it's a great opportunity. And then I also say, do your homework a little bit. And I don't mean to turn this into a massive project for you, but, Google who's going to be there. Maybe make a list of the top 3 people you'd love to speak to. Do a little bit of homework about them as far as learning a little bit about them other than just their job title, so that when you speak to them, or if you have the opportunity to speak to them, you're able to at least comment on something else in their life than just the posting of, hey, they're the GM or whatever. That will make you stand out a little bit more to the person that you're speaking to, make it more memorable to them. Dress the part, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I think that that's something that's important. If you come in sneakers and gray sweatpants, you're maybe not going to be taken as seriously as if you're showing up in, business attire. And so I think that's something that's also an important piece. And then again, don't put the pressure on yourself to have to go and speak to every single person there. Go in with, smaller milestones or mile markers where it's like, okay, tonight I'm going to talk to 2 different people and meet 2 different people.
Mhm.
A lot of students or young graduates also ask me about business cards and should I give someone my business card? And I would say that's a great option if you like. But I also think that if you're able to collect a business card or create some sort of memorable part of a conversation to then say, hey, you know what, I loved meeting you. I understand you've got lots of people here to talk to. Would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. How do you feel about that? Or is there an email that I can reach out to you at? Something like that where you're talking to them, but you're not having to, oh my gosh, come up with 30 minutes of conversation with this person. Go in with something that you know about them, that you learned, make some form of impression. Say, I know this is a busy time. I know there's a million people that would like to speak to you. I'd love to follow up at a convenient time. And then you take the onus upon yourself to do the follow-up. No one is going to take your business card and be like, I loved meeting Jimmy and I'm going to email him. No one's going to do that. So, and I mean, maybe there's someone out there, but likely it's not going to happen. So you kind of have to make those opportunities for yourself. And I do that with me as well. I've been in the industry for over 15 years now. And I still, if I meet someone and it's someone that I want to maintain a relationship with, I don't put the ball in their court. The ball's in my court to then reach out to them and do that follow up.
No, that was perfectly well said. I think we're going to get at least 3 social clips out of that answer if I was counting correctly. But no, guys, that's the best advice possible is being personable and making sure you follow up on these. Networking isn't talking to somebody once and adding them on LinkedIn. Networking is building that relationship. It's being personable. Like Patrice said, it's coming with that information about them or talking points with you, right? I go to so many of these conferences or events in tech where everybody's there for tech. Tech is a gigantic thing. There isn't always that common ground to touch on or talk about, right? But when you're at a sports conference like this and you know there's a hockey speaker at 9:30, if you go talk to somebody about hockey, chances are they're going to like hockey, right? So at an event like this, there's so much common ground, so much that you can build off of and talk to these people about. And I can't say enough good things about the primetime event this year. Remind the people when again it is.
Yeah, it's November 10th to 12th. So it's a Sunday through Tuesday in November. So yeah, looking forward to it. We're only a couple months away.
Perfect. Yes, we're going to keep sprinkling that through the episode here so that you guys don't forget to go sign up today. But Patrice, I'd be remiss if I didn't get into some of your career and what you've been up to. I touched on it off the top. You've done a lot in the hockey world, in the sports world, and transcended sport into music and other areas in your career as well. Tell the people what you are up to today. What's on your plate at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for that introduction. Firstly, I feel like a lot of my background definitely began in the sport world with a little bit of music from a passion project side of things, and I'm pretty 50-50, 50% music, 50% on the sports side. I feel very grateful for that opportunity. Today is a little more focused on the music side. Just so happens that Monday is kind of preparing for some new releases and music coming later at the end of the week. However, with the start of the hockey season, this is typically planning mode is setting in. I've had the opportunity to work within the Ontario Hockey League for, I mean, collectively over 15 years, which is wild, between three different teams, four if you count my very first job, which was mostly just working in the store. But hey, it counts. Any job is great. But yeah, normally when I'm working throughout the hockey season, a lot of what I'm doing is the game operations planning, mapping out different events coming up, working with partners to kind of, at this time being kind of before the start of the season, working on partnership collaborations and how we're going to activate in the arena, and then making sure that things are ready for opening night. And so a little more music focused this week, but that's typically what would be going on at this time.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And I think the music industry is very cool in and of itself. And living down in Nashville, I'm very jealous of that. But I think it's also just cool that, I mean, it sounds like you have two very big passions, sports and music, and you turn them both into careers. And I think that in and of itself is inspiration for anybody listening here. You touched on game operations there. I saw that you'd been manager of game operations with the Kitchener Rangers, the Hamilton Bulldogs as well. Being in the OHL, you get to wear a lot of different hats and get to do a lot of different things for your teams, right? Manager of game operations feels like one of those titles where you got everything thrown your way. Tell the people a little bit about those roles and what type of skills you were able to learn from them.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. It is a little bit within the junior hockey world. There is a little bit of everything kind of touching your plate, just because of it typically being a small team. In game operations, you don't have five full-time people the way that an NHL market might. It's a one person show with an intern and then your game night crew, and then some collaboration with the greater team in general. But typically within the game operations space, I think skill sets that I've learned to really hone in on is my time management skills, my attention to detail. I've always been a detail-oriented person, so I definitely thrive in those sort of environments. But it's something that if you're working in game operations, you're not just planning the game that's happening this Friday, you're working on stuff that's happening months from now, and you may be working on 10 to 15 games at a time, and working with different partners for those 10 to 15 games at a time, and mapping out scripting for those, all those different games. And so it's a little bit of time management. What can we plan ahead on? What gaps are we still looking to fill? And then of course, zoning in on what exactly you need to get done in time for, Friday, 7 o'clock puck drop. So game operations definitely is a combination of the game night experience, that fan experience, building a unique and fun fan experience for the crowd, but also integrating the fan engagement pieces with our brand partners as well, and making sure that we're bringing those brands to life in our in-game experience and finding creative ways to do that. So sometimes it's pitching a partner on, hey, this would be a really cool way to activate. Game operations is not just a t-shirt toss anymore. The way that it began when I first started working with, they were at the time the Mississauga Ice Dogs. Now they're obviously they've moved, but that was the very first OHL team that I had worked with, and that was kind of what our game ops was. It was like, you got like a free uh, clapper when you walked in the building, and then maybe you got a t-shirt toss during the intermission or something. But like outside of that, there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot going on. Now game operations is, preparing credentials for media, making sure that all of your brand partners are activated, making sure that your scripting is good to go, preparing for any pregame ceremonies, anything that kind of engages the fans that's unique and fun, working with different pricing and trying to expand it as much as you can because you don't have crazy big budgets to work with. So it's a lot of different things from a lot of different departments all kind of blending into one. But I would say the two skills, going back to the top of my answer, would be time management and then being detail oriented.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer. I think the time management, especially like you said, yeah, events, game operations, it's so in the moment what's happening this second, making sure everybody's having a good time, but you're planning 6, 8 months in advance to get to that point. So it's very back and forth with the time management there. I wanted to ask again, because you've seen so many different teams and evolutions in the OHL there. How much has social media, online presence, etc., changed a game operations role through your time in the OHL or with other teams?
I think in two different ways. I think having the social media component is a great way to connect with fans who aren't in the building. I mean, I think I heard a stat that MLSE, the fans who actually come to a game live in person, that's 1% of their fan base, which is wild to think about. So it's not just how you integrate fans in the actual stadium or in the actual arena, it's also how are you engaging with them outside? And a lot of times that falls on the social media side of things. You want to create a great fan experience so that people will come back to a game, but what about the people who aren't going to ever be able to come to a game? So I think social media has really revolutionized the way that we can connect with fans and create those really strong attachments and deepen that engagement. But I also think from the perspective of in-game, we can utilize social media to give away different things. I know one of the things, it's by no means a revolutionary idea, but we had, tweet your seat. So take a picture of you in your seat, post it on Twitter or X, or on any platform. We've switched to Instagram, all that sort of stuff, TikTok. Post it on socials, tag us, and then you could win a free prize, or tell us about your experience. Or with the Leafs, I do work with the Leafs as well, and they're big on, okay, tag yourself, and then you may see yourself on the board during some of the whistle breaks or during intermission or whatever the case may be. So I think there's a way that you can also engage with fans utilizing the social tools as well. I also think you have to keep in mind that your fans, whether they're in the arena or outside of the arena, they're going to be engaging on social media at some point during the game. That's just, how many times do we reach for our phone to check on stuff? So making sure that you're consistently providing content for your fans as well, whether they're in the arena or not, is also a really important way to keep them engaged. And they're going to be watching content anyway. It might as well be your content.
Yes. That is a perfect cap to that answer to end it off with. And I think, yeah, like you said, social media helps so much, but it also just means that so many more eyeballs are reaching that game one way or another. Maybe they're seeing the pregame graphic, the score afterwards, whatever it is. Like you said, there's just so many more amplified eyeballs with social media and online presence today for teams. You touched on working with the Leafs there, and you touched on MLSE, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Talk to me about your different roles and opportunities that you've had there over the years. I believe I saw 13 years cumulative there on your LinkedIn. That's a long time.
I know it is a long time. Yeah, it's crazy, honestly, to think that it was or that it's been that long. I was very lucky and fortunate to get that role right out of school in their game operations side of things. I've it's one of those jobs that once you get, you never want to give it up. And so I feel very grateful to have been a part of the team for so long, and continuing to do so. Basically, in the same world that I have kind of lived recently in the OHL as well, just in the game operations side, pregame ceremonies, postgame ceremonies, if there's anything like that. I've been able to, through MLSE, also work on the World Cup of Hockey and work World Juniors, and so many different All-Star. Like, there's so many different things that have kind of come from that, which is amazing. Our centennial season. The game operations side has also kind of bled into, as you mentioned, like that event side. So it may not always be a game that you're working, but something within a fan-facing event. So I know I've done some events where we have had like a Leafs practice at a local arena for people to come and see, and just provide, again, the fans that unique, really cool experience that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise get. Maybe they can't buy a ticket to watch a game at Scotiabank Arena, but they can still see everyone practicing and playing scrimmages at their local rink, and it's free. And so that's been a really cool experience. And I think that, the Toronto Maple Leafs do game operations in such a strong way, and their leadership team there is so incredible, and they're always bringing these innovative, cool ideas that can be shared in other platforms. And so yeah, it's been a really rewarding experience and a lot of fun, and being able to be there for as long as I have. You make a lot of friends who some are still there, some have moved on to other things, but it's been really cool to watch people's careers continue to grow.
Yeah, that's very cool to play such a role in the mecca of hockey. I will claim it that, even if others won't. The mecca of hockey in Toronto. And Patrice, when again is the Primetime Sports Conference this year?
It is November 10th to 12th, 2024, at the Westin Harbor Castle Hotel in Toronto. It's a Sunday through Tuesday. I will mention, I didn't mention before, you don't have to come for the full event, although of course you get the most out of it if you can. But there are, opportunities to just come on the Sunday, just the Monday, just the Tuesday, or even just the Monday night, where we have a careers in sport workshop. It is a little more integrative, as far as it's a little more catered to that workshop experience, and sharing kind of experiences from people's careers earlier, from right out of school kind of thing, as opposed to, the focus is not as much on best practices now. It's more so, what did they do to get to where they are? And so that's also a great opportunity. And again, it's something that's included in your registration for the event. So lots of different ways to get involved, and everything is posted on our website as well.
Perfect. Okay. Well, if you guys are listening, that's your third of fourth reminders through this show here. But Patrice, to wrap things up here, I want to get into some general career advice. We talked
Yeah.
about networking, event, conference advice earlier, but talk to me a little bit about career advice. What have you been taught or learned throughout your career, and what can you pass on to the next generation of young professionals?
The one thing that I think I learned a little later in the game than I wish I had, was to, and any of my friends that end up watching this will laugh at me, but enjoy the journey. I feel like when I was in my 20s, especially, I was so focused on, like, well, I want to get here, and I gotta forge ahead and get here and keep going, and I really did not take the time to recognize where I was at that moment, and take it in and enjoy kind of the smaller victories. I was so hyper focused on that next step, and getting to where I really wanted to be, that I didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't take it in. I wasn't like, whoa, this is so cool that I get to like volunteer at this event. It's like, well, I'm volunteering to get to this next step. So whenever I speak to students or recent graduates, it's like, okay, I know where you want to go, and sky's the limit, and that's amazing, but try and enjoy the process a little bit, because otherwise you're going to end up wasting so much of your time focusing on this like end goal that, you almost don't enjoy anything while you're in the moment. And so I definitely encourage people to do that, even if it's not where you want to be, and it's not where you want to end up. I mean, enjoy where you're at that moment. The other piece of advice that I received, which was from another person, was to say yes to stuff, even if it's like maybe not exactly what you want to do, because you never know where it might lead. Again, it's great to be hyper focused on where you want to be, and have the ability to map out sort of where you'd like to go,
Mhm.
but you don't necessarily know the roadmap to that, because especially in sports, and you know this, and I know this, there's no like, okay, go to school and get this, and then you'll get hired here, and then you advance. Like there's nothing like that. It's not like a lawyer where you go to law school, you become a lawyer, and now you're a lawyer. Like a career in the sports business, you really have no idea. There's so many different entry points. There's so many different ways to expand. So say yes to things that maybe are not like, okay, my main goal, but also could be a really great stepping stone to something else. I would say that's something that was passed along. The other thing, and I know that I kind of touched on networking before, but the other thing, and I'll attribute this to Chris Armstrong, who formerly with Wasserman is moving on to the NHL. Congratulations, Chris. Major advancements there. That's exciting. But Chris told me back years and years ago, I want to say probably 10 years ago, because I noticed that he was so good at remembering people's names and so good at remembering details. Like I would see him, a year later, and he'd be like, "How's your dog doing?" And I'd be like, "How do you even remember that I have a dog?" He told me that he would, in his like notes on his phone or something, he would, whenever he met someone, he would write their name and like something about them that they had talked about, a couple of notes, jot notes, and then he would save it in his phone. And then whenever he was going to a networking event or heading to see someone or whatever, he would kind of refresh, he would go find that person and kind of refresh his memory on what they had last spoken about. And that is again, maybe not a revolutionary idea, but I had never thought to do something like that. And I do it all the time now. And it has been such a great tool because you meet so many people, but then you don't maybe see them every day. So you kind of can forget. So it's a great opportunity to refresh your memory and have sort of that master list of people that you've met and things that you can always bring up in conversation. And again, when people remember things about you're always like, oh, like that's so nice that they remembered. But you can then do that to other people and then, continue to stand out. So that's a little piece of advice that I'll attribute to Chris. It wasn't mine, but I've taken it and run with it, and I definitely will pass it along.
Yeah, no, that's a fabulous little thing that literally everybody can do. There's no barrier to entry there, and
No, exactly.
you've heard it a million times. But people's favorite thing to hear is their own name. So the more you can remember somebody's name, what they've done, what they're doing, it gets you so far, guys. Especially at events such as PrimeTime Sports Conference, which is
November 10th to 12th, 2024 at the Westin Harbor Castle Hotel in
perfect.
Toronto.
Perfect. That is your final reminder, guys. Be sure to go check it out and sign up today. Patrice, this has been a blast. Can't thank you enough for your time here and walking through your journey. Tell the people where they can find you yourself if they have any questions or just want to network and maybe remember that you have a dog.
There you go. I do have a dog. It's a different dog now, but it's still a dog. A couple of places you can go. My website is patricewhiffen.com. That has all of my links to everything. So feel free to head there if you're so inclined. On Instagram, my personal account is Patrice Whiffen. My business account is Events by Patrice. Either one of those is a great tool as well for connecting. LinkedIn, I do all the socials and LinkedIn as well. But through LinkedIn, you can also email me directly, and on the website, you can email me directly as well. So I would be
Awesome.
happy to connect.
Awesome, guys. No excuse not to go find Patrice. There's a million spots you can find her and a million questions you can ask her to learn a little bit more about her career and what she's accomplished to date. So, this has been another great episode of the Working in Hockey podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.